Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. I am so excited to do this webinar with you. Today, we are going to talk about lease options, and more specifically about Texas lease options, where most people think, you can't do lease options here in Texas. It's illegal. All kinds of rumors out there. And today, we're going to bust that myth that you can do lease options here in Texas legally, and you can make a boatload of money doing lease options here. And I have the one and only, the master Texas lease option expert, John Jackson, on the line with me. Yay, John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Tim. Hey, thank you for that. I wish I had that introduction recorded. I play that every day just to feel better about myself.
Well,
no, I'm looking forward to coming down, and thanks again for putting this webinar together for us, just to kind of run through some things again, and wanted to go through the kind of the lease options and how they're structured. Do a short webinar here talking about all that. But on this webinar, I really want to, as we get into it, then focus a little bit more on the Texas lease options and really on the laws and some of the rumors and this and that, and really clear up some things there best we can on the webinar anyway. So anyway, let's get this party started. And I'm gonna run through some slides here. Tim is kind of talking about leasing to buy and lease options, etc. Were you about to say something? I'm sorry, Tim.
yeah, I actually, before you jump, dude, you're like already working, right? You're already
Ready to go here.
let's get to business. And I just want to make sure everybody knows a little bit about, about you. And I'm sure you go in a little bit more, but, John, I've met John over a year ago through another friend of ours that John mentored and taught him about lease option. He went on to do extremely well with lease options, and that's how I was referred to John by Joe, and because Joe told me that, hey, there's an expert here in Texas that does lease options, that does like over 400 deals, lease option deals already. And it's like, dude, I got it. Yeah, I gotta learn. I gotta learn from him. And so I reach out to John and learn from lease option about lease option from John and how you do it legally here in Texas, because John has a business up in Arlington, and
The Fort Worth area.
Fort Worth
Yeah, we do a
area.
lot of stuff we do a lot of stuff in Arlington, though.
Oh, okay, yeah, in Fort Worth area, and they just do extremely well with lease option. It has students all over the country, and some here in Texas as well, some here in Houston as well. That also does really well. So I'm really excited to have John here, to share with you, his business model, how he makes his money, how he makes his millions, and share with you as well, how to legally, do deals, do lease option deals here in Texas. So with that, fire away, John.
All right. Thanks, Tim. And again, I'm just going to because I would imagine some of the people watching this, that are going to be watching this webinar, had seen our previous webinar, and where I talked a little bit about myself. So I'll touch on that here, but I'll try to zip through a little bit to get to the meat and potatoes of lease options in Texas, etc. But for those that didn't see it, I will talk a little bit about who I am. I founded Leasing to Buy in 2003. It's now the largest company of its kind in Texas. We've lease optioned over 450 houses. It's actually closer to 5 now. But Tim, let me say this. That's just in one county. That's in Tarrant County. That's where Fort Worth is.
Wow.
So it's not like there's 450 houses all over the country. That's one county.
Wow.
So, and imagine, you know how big Houston is. Houston's whatever, I don't know, 3 times the size of Tarrant County. I mean, imagine how you could crush this down in Houston. Just really do well with it. My background is in the stock market. Started trading options on Chicago Board of Exchange. Started trading call options. Got into real estate, and I found that with real estate, there's 10 million different. There's 20 different ways to make money in real estate, and I had to figure out which way was best for me. And so I researched various techniques, and I found that each technique had pros and cons. And it was important that I found a niche that suited me, suited my risk level and everything. Now there's so many different techniques, again, foreclosures, rehab, sub-2, here's just a few of them. But again, each one has their own downside. And for me, starting off, knowing nothing about real estate, I really didn't see that, buying a house with cash that I didn't have and trying to do repairs on it I didn't know how to do, and then trying to sell it in a market that I didn't know anything about, that just didn't seem, really easy to me. so I finally found, again, these are some of the risks. We've got market risk, depreciation, obviously evictions, and the two biggest things are the bottom ones, cash and credit. When you're starting off in real estate, a lot of times you don't have cash, or maybe your credit isn't worthy of going out and getting a $250,000 line of credit to go out and buy houses with. So what I kept finding was lease options. I kept reading and reading, and I would read about lease options, but there wasn't a lot out there at the time, Tim, about lease options. But I was familiar with options, so I started studying it more and more. And I saw that lease options provided a number of benefits to the investor, or or even to the seller and to the buyer, but particularly the person that's new at real estate. I think lease options are one of the easiest ways to get started in real estate. There's essentially no or little risk. There's no capital risk, no cash needed, no credit needed, no need to get approved by the bank, and you can turn the inventory very quickly. You can help the sellers that can't sell, buyers that can't buy, and make an average of $4,000 to $5,000. We actually make more than that. We make normally we average about $5,500 to $6,500 per deal. And actually, if someone wants to, can go to leasingtobuy.com. You can see under option fee, that's how much we make. Which I guess I can show that here in just a second. So again, this is a great technique for someone starting off in real estate.
Right.
But here's the thing, Tim. Everything I was reading about lease options, the people that were teaching and using lease options were basically ripping people off. So I revamped everything, and I structured the way that we do lease options to help people. Because the guru said, options were great. The house will never appraise, they'll never buy. You get the house back, and you do it all over again. Well, to me, that I try to think of myself as an ethical and moral person, and that just didn't seem right. Setting people up for failure. So we revamped the way lease options were structured and the way they were executed, the way the numbers were set up, and put everything in place to help the buyer. So we structure all the numbers so the lenders would approve it, and we structure the program so we've got credit improvement. We help them establish credit. We even have the home warranty in place through Old Republic Home Warranty. We have the financing in place. We've got everything in place to help the buyer. I mean, think about how great that is, Tim. It's a great feeling, Tim, when you have someone that 8 months ago couldn't buy a house. They get into your program, and 8 months later they're getting finance on their house. The emails I get from our clients, from our buyers, are they're so happy and thankful, thanking us for helping them and helping them achieve that dream of home ownership, and that's a great feeling, Tim. So that's where Leasing to Buy started. And that's where we were born, and that's what we do now. Is we focus on lease options. So let's talk quickly, Tim, about what is a lease option. There's different terms for them, also known as a CA or cooperative assignment, cooperative lease option, link options, wholesale lease options, flipping lease options. It's all the same thing, lease purchasing, and then there's sandwich lease options. Now, sandwich lease options is where you stay in the middle of it, but we don't do sandwich lease options in Texas, which I'll get into later. But we do a lot of assignments. And that's really what we do is our lease option assignments. So here's the steps to a lease option. Market to the sellers, market to buyers, you assign the contract, and you repeat.
Okay,
That seems pretty easy.
so John, can we take a step back? Because I actually got some questions, like some people literally don't know what a lease option is. Like, how is that different?
Sure.
How is that different from a normal transaction? How is that different than, you marking a house to sell and then the buyer gets a loan and buy the house? So could you
Yeah.
explain what a lease option is?
Sure, you bet. A lease option is simply a lease with a lease contract with a separate option to purchase contract, and then you assign that contract. But let's take a step back here, Tim. So what happens is the buyer is leasing the property from the seller for a set amount of money. Say $1,200 a month or whatever it is. They have the option to purchase that property at a set amount. When they go to so they're leasing it with the option of purchase.
Kind of like a rent to own, right?
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's another term. It's called rent to own. That's another term I should have put up there. It's exactly what it is. It's a rent to own, and so they've got the option to purchase that property at a set price within typically we structure everything normally for a year. So they're leasing it, and then they go to purchase it, and it'll show what the purchase price is. It'll show how much they've already put down on the property, and then there's I can show you the numbers on my website to give you an idea. But I didn't pull my website up, so it would take a second. But yeah, so they lease it, and they've got the option to purchase it. So what happens with leasing to buy is we market to sellers. We normally do our main marketing, Tim, is through direct mail. We do direct mail to either for sale by owners or to listed houses. We hit a lot of listed houses, and the owner calls me, and I run through, get the address from them, put some preliminary numbers together, send the numbers off.
And why would a seller want to do lease option versus just selling it outright?
Well, we are Plan B in most cases. Matter of fact, I just talked to a seller today in San Antonio that was calling me, and he and his wife are moving to California. Well, their house is in San Antonio. They're going to move to California. They don't want to rent the house, but they've got to do something with it. Well, if the house, if they're about to move and the house hasn't sold, they don't want to have an empty house. They want to have somebody in that house cash flowing it and taking care of it. But they don't want to rent it. So we're the Plan B. Plan A is where a person comes up to a seller with a checkbook and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you cash for this house, and here's a little bit extra for your, moving expenses, whatever." Well, when that doesn't work, then they've go to Plan B, and that's the lease option. And I don't mind being the Plan B. I'm a very good Plan B, but it's a lot better than renting because the clients that we're working with on the buying side are not renters. They're willing to buy the properties. They take very good care of the property. They get the home warranty in place. Everything is it's very hands-off the seller. But certainly if the seller could sell it immediately for cash, they would. But with the lending guidelines being as they are, 640 for FHA, 660 conventional, 2 years if you're self-employed. We help a lot of people, Tim, that are self-employed or that have switched from a W-2 to a 1099, and now they can't buy a house for 2 years. They may have a 780 FICO score, but they can't buy a house for 2 years. So, and we've had the opposite happen where, they switch to a W-2 and now they need 6 months and they don't want to rent a house. So that's kind of some of the people that I work with. But again, that's what a lease option is where they have a lease with the option of purchasing, and the way we get paid, Tim, is through our assignment of that contract.
Now, John, why would the buyer wants to do this and not just get a loan and buy the house?
Because so many people can't get a loan right now.
What would you say the percentage of, if you have to guess, what would you say is the percentage of buyers out there that want to buy a house but can't get a loan? Then that lease option would be great for.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to say percentage, but if I had to guess, I would say I would venture to say that at least 50% of the people that want to buy
I'm sure they're a lot more than 50. I was thinking
Yeah.
more like 90% of the
Yeah,
buyers.
it's got to be over the 50% mark. But think about that. If even if it was 50%, if half the people that want to buy can't buy, well, that's a pretty large pool of people that you can market to. You know, the way I look at it, Tim, is the pool of people we market to is much larger than the pool of people that an agent sells to, because we have so many more. There's so many more people that can't qualify than
Right.
that can qualify. You know.
Um,
We get people all the time that, well, I'll tell you what, we just got an application today from someone. She's a senior underwriter at a lender, at a mortgage company. She does underwriting and good income, but just can't quite qualify yet. So looking forward to helping her. But so again, there's so many people that just cannot qualify right now.
Right. Cool. So you market to the sellers. So you find the sellers that's willing to do a lease option, and then you find buyers that want to buy on a lease option because they can't go qualify for a loan, and then you assign your contract with your seller to the buyer, right?
Right, right.
So this is very similar to how an investor would do a wholesale deal.
Right.
The difference is that we're dealing with a much bigger market because we're dealing with sellers that their house is not necessarily in distress, or actually not in distress at all, right? Which is majority of houses.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not working on the lease option side. We're not working with distressed properties. We're working with nice houses, nice areas, and you're exactly right, Tim. It's similar to wholesaling. With wholesaling, obviously, you're having to find sellers that have a lot of equity in the property and will take a discount, and which isn't always the easiest thing. You've got to really dig through a bunch of them. Well, think about it, Tim. Almost every seller that calls me, I can help with the lease option. Because how hard is it to convince a seller that this is good because you're offering him full price, versus trying to hack them down 60 cents on the dollar or whatever. So you're offering them full price. How can they say no to that? The maintenance for the most part is taken care of with the home warranty. We get the payments, so we don't, but we have the buyer set the payments electronically to the seller, so it's very hands off. So it's not a difficult sell, in other words,
Right.
to the seller. Yeah.
Okay, so it's almost and I know there's a lot more of these type of houses out there, a lot more of these sellers, and a lot more of these buyers as well. So in a way, it's kind of like wholesaling on steroids, right?
Yeah, because you can do a lot of these. You can do a lot of these, a lot more of these probably than on wholesaling. So we were just talking about the sellers. Why is it easy to market to the sellers? Again, you're getting top dollar. There's no haggling. Buyer, we get the home warranty set up through Old Republic Home Warranty, and so everything's really hands off. It's all taken care of. The buyer set up the payment electronically each month to the seller. They don't have to pay us a commission. So in other words, the seller's getting more money for getting a lot more money going through the lease purchase. They're oftentimes cash flowing on the monthly payment, so it's very hands off for the seller.
Right.
And again, on the buyer, they're looking at, typically they pay us about, on a percentage about 3.5%, give or take. But otherwise they'd have to go to like an owner finance. They're looking at say 10 to 20% down. If they're
Wow. So if it's only 3 to 3.5%, that's like super easy for these buyers to get into.
Yeah, and keep in mind FHA requires 3.5% down, but they have much stricter guidelines.
Right.
So a lot of these buyers, if they had to go get a loan, they'd have to put again maybe 10%. Then with owner finance, maybe even more
Wow.
down. So they're putting about 3.5% down. I don't put a calculator to it, but it's pretty darn close to about 3.5. And in some cases, you can actually get a little bit more than that. But yeah, so it's easy for them on that end. The owner is paying part of their closing costs at the time of finance. So it's not the traditional landlord-tenant relationship. It's very
Yeah.
very hands off. Matter of fact, it's amazing. This sounds kind of weird, but it's amazing. We go get people financed, and I'll have the owner or the buyer. One of them will. I can't tell you how many times they've said, "Wow, thank you so much. This has been great." I never actually talked to the buyer, but I'm sure they're nice people. Or I never actually talked to the seller, but so I mean, it's very very hands off for them.
Right.
So the buyer has time to get yeah.
Yeah, and I can totally see why you're so successful at this. It's because, I mean, with 3% down, like, oh my gosh, there's unlimited amount of buyers out there with that kind of money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly.
Wow.
And and again, we've got everything in place to help them, because a lot of times these buyers that are coming to us, they want to buy a house, but they need that guidance, to know, well, how do I get ready for finance? So we've got a mortgage preparation program for them. We have a credit improvement in place for them. We help them establish credit. And again, so they've got the time that they need to get those scores up and get ready for finance. So we've got everything in place. It's really kind of a one-stop shop is exactly what it is. So it's a complete turnkey program.
Right.
So again, how do we get paid? We're paid an assignment fee for our contract. We normally make an average of $5,500 to $6,500 a deal. We certainly make more than that on some deals. Again, if you go to leasingtobuy.com and you look at the option fee, you'll see some in there that are $9,000, $12,000, whatever the case may be. Obviously, on higher end houses, we get paid more. But our average house, Tim, is about I'd say 100. About 180, about 180,000. So we're making about 6,500 on those. But our average house is about 180,000. But again, as we get higher price houses, then we get more per deal. But again, like you said, the nice thing is you can do a lot of it's a numbers thing. And Tim, you can do so many houses this way because again, you're offering such a great program that they can do a lot of properties this way and not have to try to find people that have 60 or 40 or 50% equity. You're looking for people that they might not have that much equity. And think about how many people are in that situation where they don't have a lot of equity. They don't want to come to a close with money. So, but again, we average about 5,500, 6,500 a deal, probably a little bit closer to 6,500 just because of the price range we work in. So as you move up in price ranges, we'll certainly get $9,000 assignment fees, $12,000. We've certainly had $15,000 assignment fees. So and again, normally once you have a house under contract, normally you can move it within 6 weeks for sure. Get earnest money, so you can normally move it pretty quickly. Okay. Now if you one thing that I didn't used to do this, but I started doing it a little bit more on as we get really solid people that need to move quickly. They're in a situation they need to move quickly, but they don't have all the assignment fee. Maybe it's $8,000 down, and they've got to move in the next couple of weeks because they're relocating or whatever, and they've only got $6,000 down. I have started spreading out the down payment a little bit for some of these buyers. And I gotta say, Tim, it's really it's really nice. I used to teach never ever ever spread out the down payment, but now I'm changing my tone a little bit on that. Obviously, you want to make sure that they're good people.
Right.
But I gotta say, it was really nice last month to suddenly you get a email alert on my phone or notice that I had $3,800 deposit from different tenant buyers that were paying me out. I know next month we've got an additional $5,500 coming in next month that I already know about that they're paying out that down payment over a few months.
So John, I want to ask you this. So so instead of asking 3.5% down, what if like can you ask 5% down? However, you break it up. So like 3% upfront and then 2%, in the monthly payments throughout the year.
Yeah, you can definitely do that, and it's interesting you asked me that, Tim, because again, I used to teach never ever spread out the down payment,
Hmm.
because I had done it years ago, and a couple people burned me, but that was years ago, and I didn't know as much as I do now. And then I'm much better
You've
at
gotten smarter now.
and exactly. I'm much better looking and smarter. But as I've done this now over the last couple of months, a few months, and I'm getting this cash flow coming in, I'm like, this is kind of nice. What if, it's so funny you asked me that, Tim. I started thinking about this. I'm like, what if instead of, just as an example, what if instead of, say, 6,000 down, what if I put it at, say, 9,000 down, but work with the buyer and say, you know what, if you can only do, say, 6, okay, we could do that, and you can make payments on the other 3, just as an example. And so it's so weird you ask me, because I started thinking about this over the last week, because I was getting these deposits hitting my account, and I'm like, man, that's not bad. And I got my wheels spinning. Man, I think I'm going to raise the down payment, and then because what happens is when people say, well, how much is it down? Well, it's 9,000 down, but I tell you what, if you qualify for the house, maybe we can, if we can do, maybe we could work out the payments on some of that. Well, people jump on that,
Right.
So you
Exactly.
can definitely So there's really an opportunity there that I've been thinking about, especially next month when I've got 5,500 coming in, just additional income, just an extra 5,500,
Well, that's nice. So you're gonna
and that's on top of
since it's extra income, are you gonna send it my way?
Yes, I just you're supposed to send me your bank account number, and I guess it must have got deleted. It must have got in my junk mail. Yeah, so so
Right.
yeah, it's a great way to make extra income,
Right.
just monthly income. And again, I used to teach never spread out the down payment because I had a long time ago. I got burned a couple of times, and again, I'm much better at going through the applications, filtering
Right.
them out, and assessing people, and and know which ones I'm comfortable in
Right.
doing that with,
And I
and
can
it's really
see.
working out.
I mean, I can see too, like, cause there are deals that, that like sometimes I find them, they're like at 80% of value, for example. So, if there's 80% of value and I can negotiate with the seller for that, and I'm able to sell it for 100% of value, not only I can spread this out, but I can, like, let's say I sell it to the buyer, at, for a little bit more. Like I can even ask for a bigger down payment. However, like spread it out where some of it they don't have to pay me until they refinance. Yeah, well, they get a new loan on the property too.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, when they refi the property. So
Right.
yeah, there's definitely different ways to cash flow this. But again, what I do is I focus just on the assignments, and it's a very easy.
Yeah,
It's really easy.
yeah,
It's
I
really
love what
easy.
yeah, and that's what I love most about what you do is it's super easy and it's so cookie cutter.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
systemized. It's like when you go to McDonald's and you know yeah you order a Big Mac, you get exactly the Big Mac and there's no there's no thinking that has to go into these transactions, and so that's what I like a
Yeah.
lot about your system.
It really is systematized where over the years I've really, like you said, cookie cuttered it. So for example, when a seller calls me, I can be on the phone with him for 2 minutes, get the information I need, uh, pull the numbers, put the numbers together in a few minutes. I have pre-drafted emails that all my students get, pre-drafted emails that go with pre-drafted forms. You just plug them in, email them out. Put the contracts there, just it's plug and play is really what it is. And then you send those out, and the seller says, let's do it. You go out, take pictures, get up, get the contracts, put it on the website, and it's you're off to the races. You get
Right.
and normally here's the thing is normally also on these houses, Tim. Keep in mind, normally, when you get a house, normally you only have to show it about, I would say, 5 times before you've got that solid applicant. The application, well, the house that I just got an application for, I wasn't even really going to show it yet because it's the owner's doing a bunch of work to it. But this lady, she really wanted to go see it. So her agent, she had an agent, but her agent took her over there, showed it to her, and she got the application to us, and I haven't even started showing it yet. And so I don't even have a sign in the yard yet. so they go so quickly that, again, they normally will be gone within 6 weeks for sure, especially this time of year. Right. And also if you own a property, if you own an investment property and maybe you're renting it out or something, you can lease option it, get better people for it than typical renters for sure. You get more money up front, it's non-refundable, and the buyers take far better care of the property, obviously, than renters do, So you can always lease option your own investment properties. That's a great, if I had a number of rental properties and was looking to, that I didn't, if I kept them okay, if I didn't okay, I'd lease option every one of them, because you're going to get, like I said, you could get 3.5% down, you could get 5% down,
right.
It's non-refundable, they're going to take good care of it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's good.
So let's talk a little bit, I know we're about halfway into this already, and so let's jump on Texas lease options, and I want to go into a little bit more detail about this than we did previously. But I don't want to go. I realize it's a webinar, and I don't want to go into such deep detail that people fall asleep.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of rumors, and I want to talk about the rumors and the truths about Title II, Chapter 5. Now, what is Title II, Chapter 5? Title II, Chapter 5 is the Texas Property Code section regarding conveyances, regarding the conveyance of real property. And so we're going to talk about, so as I make reference to statutes, we're going to talk, it's going to be Title II, Chapter 5. And I always like to talk about the history of Texas lease options, going back, to me, you have to go back a little bit to just kind of how laws are made, where did this kind of start? Well, back in 2000, a tornado hit downtown Fort Worth and wiped out an entire little area of old houses that had been contracted for deeds to Hispanic people. Well, the houses, the investors were pretty, I guess, crooked, and they didn't have insurance on the properties. So what happened now is all these Hispanics had no insurance, no deed, and now no house. They had nothing to show for it. And you know how it is, Tim, just one bad apple, because there's always going to be people doing something crooked in real estate. So Mike Moncrief drafted legislation regarding Title II, Chapter 5 of the Texas Property Code that really made it much more difficult to do contract for deeds as far as the what you had to disclose, etc. So when you read Title II, Chapter 5, there's a tremendous amount of verbiage in there about contract for deeds. Now, just so you all know, a contract for deed is basically it's an owner finance where you're not getting the deed to the property until you complete your last payment. Does that make sense, Tim?
Uh-huh.
You're contracting. The contract is for the deed. Once you complete that contract, you get the deed. So we're typically on owner finance. You deed. You have a note and you deed the house over. And then if they miss a payment, you foreclose on them. Well, in this case, they don't get a deed. That's called a contract for deeds. So a lot of the verbiage, Title II, Chapter 5, you'll see is about contract for deeds. Or it talks about if the purchaser does not deliver a deed within 180 days, then you've got to abide by all these other additional things. So fast forward a little bit. That was in 2000. So you're saying, well, what does that have to do with lease options? Well, I bring that up because that had really changed the dynamics of Title II, Chapter 5, which we reference to with lease options. And because of there's so much verbiage in there with contract for deed, people get confused and think there's a lot of things in there that apply to lease options, and they don't.
I see.
So what happened in 2005? A representative from Texas Low-Income Housing Information, that's so hard to say, Texas Low-Income Housing Information Services, which supposedly was also had close ties with Acorn, the group Acorn, went and lobbied Senator Lucio from Harlingen on the Senate side, and on the House side, Representative Dutton from Houston. And so I go into a little bit about how laws are made, which I won't go into too much right now, but basically it's things that irritate a politician, which I always use the example of when I was down there at your group, I used the example of a politician driving to work, and he sees a billboard for Hooters, and he crashes his car, looking at the billboard, so he drafts legislation saying no more cleavage on billboards. That's one way that laws get made. The other way is what's called cat juggling, which is a reference to a Steve Martin movie called The Jerk. It's where someone comes in and says, "Oh, we've got this problem. We've got this major problem. We've got to stop this. These people are getting ripped off, and lease options are horrible." And the politicians say, "You're right. This is horrible. We're going to do something about it." Well, it's not really a problem. There's a couple of people that are crooks, but go after the crooks. Don't try to wipe out lease options.
Right.
So what happened is Senate Bill 629 on the Senate side and the corresponding bill HB 1823 on the House side, the original version of this bill, HB 1823, only a part of it applied to a lease option. The rest of it was about conveyances and contract for deeds. But the original version of the bill, the verbiage in there, Tim, basically said that you cannot do a lease option on a house if it has a mortgage. And so what happened is that was where one of the rumors started, because now everybody just assumed that that's what the law was. Well, it hadn't been passed yet, and it still had to go through a committee and amendments. But the original bill said you couldn't. It would make it illegal to do a lease option on a house with a mortgage. So investor groups jumped on the bandwagons. We were faxing, calling, emailing our representatives, trying to stop this bill. Finally, got Representative Parker from Beaumont on board to begin drafting amendments to the bill, and then Senator Royce West also on the Senate side also passed those, or I guess I should say approved and agreed with those amendments. So there were a number of amendments made to the original bill. So let's talk a little bit about the rumors. One is that you can't do a lease option on a house with a mortgage, which.
Just so I want to clarify, because of the way it was drafted initially, because I remember, the way it was drafted initially, like the whole, it just really blew up our industry, and so everybody was talking negative about it, and so even after the revision, like the rumors was already out, so like nobody was gonna look further into this anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. The rumors were already out, and so a lot of people just assumed, well, that's just the way it is, and it wasn't true, because they did amend that, which I'll get into a little bit about some of the amendments that they made. But yeah, so you're right. It started the rumor mill, and a lot of people just believe that's just the way it was. There were other rumors that some of them I don't know where they came from. One of them was that the lender has to approve the tenant buyer, which is not true at all. That you needed at least 75% equity in the property before you could do a lease option. I don't even know where that one came from, but I've heard some of these rumors. Another one was that you have to foreclose on the tenant buyer, which is not true. One of the other misunderstandings, which I'll get into in a second, is fee simple title. These statutes require that the owner or the seller of a lease option have fee simple title. So there was misunderstanding that fee simple title meant that you couldn't have a mortgage, which title and mortgage are two separate things. But again, we'll talk about that here in just a second. And another part of the confusion was the bill was included in HB 1823. Well, the whole bill wasn't about lease options. It was just that's where they plugged these statutes into. The rest of the bill was about conveyances and contract for deed. But people, if they read the bill, if they read the final bill, they would assume that the whole thing was about lease options when it wasn't. And the bill was included in Title II, Chapter 5 of the Property Code, and so people assumed that everything in Title II, Chapter 5 relates to a lease option, which it doesn't. Only specific portions of it do.
I see. So
let's talk a little bit. So again, not all of House Bill 1823 applies to a lease option. Only a portion of the bill applied, and it stated very clearly which sections don't apply and which sections do apply. So with the final bill, the bill states, well, I can actually read it. It states that the following sections do not apply to a executory contract as described in, basically it says, the following sections don't apply to a lease option. So you can go through the property code and say, okay, this one doesn't apply, this one doesn't apply, this one doesn't apply, and this one doesn't apply. And some of those statutes are things that couldn't apply to lease option because they have to do with reporting a finance statements. Well, there's no finance on lease option. There's no loan there. So you can't amortize a lease option. But it also said only the following sections do apply to a lease option. And let me go back one more. There we go. So you've got these different sections, which I'm not going to read all the property code, but it's pretty simple. 506.1 talks about the definition, the applicability of the law. 506.3, 506.5 talk about the notices, the remedies, and the rights to cure. What that means is, for example, if the buyer defaults, well, you've got to send a 30-day notice of default to them, and if they don't cure it, then you evict them. So there's no you don't have to foreclose on them. You just have to you send that 30-day notice of default. So yes, they do have 30 days to cure it, but if they don't, then you just go through the eviction. So you don't have to foreclose on them. So it talks about that. Also, 507.3 applies, which except for one section. Again, I'm not going to go into read every part of this because people would fall asleep. And it talks about terms and prohibited waivers that you can't have in there. And 508.3 and 508.5, which is about the title and the liens, which I'll talk about here in just a second. So with the lease option, with the final law, there are certain things like you can't charge more than 8% of the monthly payment for a late fee. Okay, well, big deal. Also states that you cannot withhold a rent credit for a late payment. One of the things some people were doing, Tim, is if someone was late on a payment, let's say they were getting $300 a month rent credit. Well, if they were late on, let's assume that the payment was due on the 1st, and every month they paid on the 3rd. Well, they go to get financed. The owner could say, "You're not getting any rent credit because you're late 2 days every month." So it's really hosing. It could hose the buyer. Well, so you can't do that. Which we don't actually use the term rent credit in our contracts anyway. We just give them a seller concession, which gets into the finance part, right. But which I'll talk about in the upcoming coaching. But so there's certain things you can't do, and that's kind of the biggest thing. If they're late, you can't just go and evict them. You give them a 30-day notice of default, and then then you evict. Under 508.5, which is the biggest sticking point that seems to cause the most controversy. Well, let me go. I'll get to that next. I want to talk about the 180-day rule. 180-day rule. I'm going to get back to that 508.5 in just a second, Tim. The 180-day rule, people assume that if you cannot do a lease option over 180 days. That goes back to a contract for deed. If you did a owner finance and didn't deliver deed within 180 days, then okay, now all these other stipulations apply. If you do a lease option over 180 days, then this goes back to, okay, oh, sorry, Tim, hit the wrong button. If you do a contract over if you do a lease option over 180 days, these following sections apply that you've got to abide by, which again are pretty simple. So that's what the 180-day rule is. That's not, again, you probably heard that you can't do a lease option over 180 days. Right. So that's where that came from. Now, fee simple title. There's another, people get confused with fee simple title. Fee simple title is nothing more than how we hold title in the state of Texas. It's considered, if you will, the purest form of title. So that's how we hold real property in the state of Texas. We hold it in what's called fee simple title. So that's all. So when you do a lease option in Texas, you have to have fee simple title. That just means that you're the owner of that property. You can have a mortgage on it. You just have to have fee simple title. But I'll get so in Texas, you really can't do. Technically, you couldn't do a sandwich lease option because you wouldn't have the title on the property. Because you would be the seller on the second side. So I don't. So I'm sure there's people that do sandwich lease options. That's fine. I do so much business with assignments, and I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't do a sandwich lease option just because I wouldn't be on title, and I don't want to. I'm not. I wouldn't. Recommend someone do that, but that's up to them. But per the law, you have to be on title, or you have to have fee simple title. So we really don't do sandwich lease options.
Right. So it's much safer just not to do them, not to mess with them.
Exactly. Just do the assignments and stay well above the law.
Right.
So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit.
There's so
I'm
much
sorry, go ahead.
money. There's so much money to be made with assignments. I like easy money. Like I don't like
Yeah,
money.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't like difficult money. I like easy money. And so
And you know what, Tim? And speaking of sandwich lease options, back before 2005, years and years ago when I really didn't know what I was doing, the two worst properties that just about killed me were properties I did sandwich lease options on. And I said, maybe I should stick to assignments. I'll stick to what I'm good at. So I lost money on both those deals. But, oh my gosh. But let's talk about 5085 here, Tim. Mortgage disclosures. We get mortgage. The 5085 requires that that if there's a lien on the property, that the seller has to provide the mortgage information. So we get the mortgage information on the lien holder sheet. The seller sends the authorization to release, that mortgage information to the lien holder, just like you would if you took a house subject to, Tim. You want to get that mortgage information, don't you? You're not going to take a house subject to without knowing anything about the mortgage. Without having information on the mortgage. Well, it's the same thing with the lease option. We provide that to the buyer, and there is specific verbiage that the law requires, which is fine. Okay, we put it in our contracts. But such as verbiage about if the seller is late on a payment, that they've got to notify them in 14-point type and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, well, that's not a big deal. We just put those disclosures in the contract. But here's the actual verbiage of 5085. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to read just a part of it here and part of what caused the confusion. 5085 says, fee simple title required. Maintenance of fee simple title. A potential seller may not execute an executory contract with a potential purchaser if the seller does not own the property in fee simple, free from any liens or other encumbrances. But then you go down and it states that, it states that if there is a lien on the property, that it had to be placed on the property by the seller prior to the execution of the contract in exchange for a loan used only to purchase the property. And it has specific disclosures. Well, that section that's a mortgage. That's a mortgage. If you got a lien on the property to buy the, if you got a loan to buy the property, it's a mortgage. So there you go. So you can have a mortgage, but then you've got to disclose a certain information, such as the lien holder information and this and that. So we do all of that. So again, that's what 5085 is. But again, the way it's worded in there, if you don't read the whole thing, you can misinterpret what that yes, you can have a mortgage on there. But the original bill said you couldn't. So let me go back here. So lease options are legal in Texas, but you have to have two things: an understanding of the law and the proper documents. And Tim, I've spent well over $20,000 on my contracts alone, and that is no exaggeration.
I believe you because I totally understand because I know I've paid a lot of money on contracts myself. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
And I'm always going through my contracts and I'm always reviewing them and going, I want to tweak this a little bit here. I want to tighten this up a little bit more. And I'll pay, if there's specific legalese or something that Phil needs to be in there. Obviously you want to pay because you're only as good as your contracts, right, Tim?
Right.
So I've spent well over $20,000 on my contracts. But our documents are 19 pages long. But that's not to scare anybody. It's just we have so much information. There's so much. We go way overboard, which is really, that's what you want to do, Tim. You want to be way on the safe side than risk anything. So we go way overboard with our contracts. So again, I spent over $20,000 on my contracts alone. I'm the only one that I know of, Tim, and I could be wrong. I'm the only one that teaches lease options and about the history of the code.
Yeah, you are. No one else in Texas teaches that. No one else in Texas, do as many lease option deals as you do. I don't even know any that does lease option deals.
Yeah, my ex business partner, good guy, ex business partner does a number of lease options, but he came on board. I tell him everything exactly how to do it, and he does very well with it. But again, I think I'm the only one that teaches it in Texas. So again, coming down there in September, this is I mean, it's taking you a year, Tim, of begging me and sending me flowers and Hallmark cards to get me down there. So again, you know, I don't really do the live training anymore. It takes way too much out of me.
Right.
But so coming down, I'm excited to come down. This again is a one-time opportunity because I just don't do the live training anymore. And what we've done is getting a lot of feedback from people. We were going to do a 3-day course, but a lot of people couldn't make it on that Friday. So what you and I talked about is we're going to increase the length of the days. We're going to make them 48-hour days. No, we're going to increase the length of the class per day, if that makes sense, but cut it down to just a Saturday, Sunday. So that way more people can make it. And so we're going to reduce the days from 3 to 2, still provide all the information we're going to pack on. It's just going to be over a longer day. But I think that's going to help a lot of people, Tim, that can't get off on a Friday. And so it's a 2-day live training event. I used to charge $4,500 or $5,000 for the live training. And you get my Texas Lease option CD, which I charge $895 for. My Leasing to Buy operation manual, which I don't sell. So you get, and I'm still offering, Tim. I'm still going to offer 3 months of free access to the back of Leasing to Buy, which has hours and hours and hours of training videos. People can load their properties there, and that's $145 a month. So that's $450 value right there. And of course, you get to hang out with me, which is priceless.
Yes, totally.
My opinion.
Yeah, I love hanging out with you, John, and I would pay 100 times this much just to hang out with you for a couple of days.
Well, we're going to do this since we're just doing the 2-day. We're going to cut this to $1,500 and just have the 2-day live training event, Tim.
Yeah, a lot of people, we were actually planning to do this as a 3-day event, and offer the entire coaching program, and then the 3-day event is included as part of the coaching program for $2,500. And two of the biggest, I guess, feedback that we got, number one was, man, with people working, they don't have a lot of money to spend right now, and so we wanted to figure out ways that for you guys to be able to take advantage of this. So we decided to offer just the 2-day and the Texas Lease Option CD by itself for $1,500. So you won't get the ongoing coaching because John gives you coaching for life. Like you get coaching from him, until he dies or until you die.
Whichever happens first. Whichever happens first.
Whichever happens first. Yeah, exactly. And so we decided to make it available for you for only $1,500, where you just attend the 2 full-day live, and as far as the Texas lease options, so you can get started right away. And the second thing, the second feedback was, 3 days, a lot of people can't take off work on Friday, so we decided to just do it as a Saturday and Sunday. So it's gonna be coming up here on Saturday and Sunday, September 14th and 15th. Saturday and Sunday, September 14th and 15th. So you can do one payment of $1,500, or you can even spread it up into 2 payments of $750 each, or even 3 payments of $500 each. And so we'll work with you. What's most important for us is this. What's most important for both John and I, because the reason why we do this business is to help others succeed. And so we want to make sure you succeed. We want to make sure you're set up, to win and make a lot of money in this business. And, just like the way John shared with you how, when he's working with these sellers and these buyers, his goal is to help them succeed, help the seller succeed in selling the house, helping the buyer succeed in being able to buy the house and get a loan and buy the house. is that everybody that we do business with, our number one goal is to help you succeed. And so, so we're making it as affordable as we can make it, as easy as we can make it. If you, $1,500. Look, if you just do one deal, like if you come to the two-day event, and if you just go out there and do one deal, that pays for this event like 4 or 5 times over. Okay, so you can take that extra money, you can give it to somebody. You can take your family out on a vacation, right? And so to take advantage of this, go to dodeals.com/John, www.dodeals.com/John, John, or call to you via my assistant at 832-422-7643. And if you have further questions, you'll be able to answer that. 832-422-7643. Go to our website, www.dodeals.com/John, John. And like I said, this is an amazing opportunity. You guys don't even know what an amazing this opportunity is.
It's so hard for me to even try to explain, because then I sound like I'm just bragging about myself. But it's not about me. It's about the program. It's about the business in a box. It's about being able to put a business together, a business model based off our foundation, basically, springboard off what I've built, and you get to utilize everything I've learned and have built over 10 years, and and you have access to, again, those that sign up get 3 months free access to the back of the website. There's so many training videos on the back of that, Tim, that are just hours and hours of training. Some great information on there. Great information.
Right. Yeah, and I, knowing you, John, I know you give phenomenal, training and coaching. And you're a wealth of information, man, and that's what I love about you. And I know, like, some of your students I've talked to, they love you.
Yeah.
And so I'm really super excited for everyone on this call, to everyone watching this video, to be a part of this, and do some deals together. All right, I'm building my own team to like really take lease option by storm here in Houston. And so everyone who's joining this seminar, get to participate in part of my team, and learn what we do, and so because when before there was lease option issues, and the law passed, I was doing a lot of lease option deals, John. I was making a lot of lease option, making a lot of money. I used to do these things called the deal making weekend, where literally, like, my students and I, within one weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we find a property and we find a buyer and get the option fee down payment, all happen in one weekend. It's like, out of all the different real estate investing strategies that I have done, that I have personally done, lease option assignment is like the fastest, easiest way to make money. I have not seen any other strategy that makes money faster or easier than lease option assignment.
And Tim, think about this. What I'm doing more and more of now, and really starting to ramp up, is on the wholesale side. Think about this, Tim, is when you get someone that calls you on a wholesale lead, they may call you and you say, okay, well, you get the information from them, and you ask them, well, how much do you think the property is worth? Oh, 120. Okay, well, how much do you owe? 115. Well, you can't wholesale that. But then you go, you know what? We may not be able to pay cash, but I tell you what, I bet we can help you even better. I bet we can get you top dollar and do a lease option on it. So you can convert those deals over to a lease option, and vice versa.
Right, exactly. All right, so here's a question that came in from Sean here. Now that we are in a seller's market, how difficult is it to build inventory? Sellers are getting top dollar.
Yeah, it's I've seen all different markets, because I started this in 2003. Well, in 2003, Tim, you could fog a mirror and get a loan. and then but I was still so busy I couldn't keep up with it. And so I've seen all different cycles of the real estate market with lease options. Now, having said that, as it becomes a heavy seller's market, what happens is just the number of responses to my direct mail, the percentage drops down a little bit. But it's not. It's really not really doesn't affect me. The number of responses to my direct mail drops down a little bit, but it also has to do with the timing of that. I recommend not doing a mailing until end of September. So the timing of this class is actually almost perfect, because we'll do the class in the middle of September, and they can start getting things ready for their marketing. And I start my marketing into September, early October is when I start my marketing. Again, I should say, when I start ramping it up again. And I mean, if you think we can't do lease options when in a seller's market, look at Leasing to Buy. You'll see all the houses on there.
Right, exactly. So awesome. So here is another question here. Will we get all the docs and actually be able to do this at the end of the seminar?
Yeah, you're gonna not only gonna have all the documents, which is on that separate CD that I normally charge $895 for, but we'll actually go through the contracts and go through those contracts in the class, in the 2-day class, and go through that so you'll know how to fill them out, how I do them, and everything. So, and actually, what I'm bringing is my big Mac that sits on my computer. That sits on my desk that I use every day. So everybody will see me actually completing documents, sending numbers out, etc., and completing documents as well. So we'll go through everything in detail on those, but they'll definitely get the contracts.
Awesome. After I get a house under contract, can I put it on your website to find a buyer?
Yes, you can put it on our website to find a buyer. Again, that's why I really wanted to give you all 3 months for free, so you have free access to the back of Leasing to Buy.
Right.
And after that, if people want to continue it, I normally charge $149 a month for that access, but if they want to continue it after that, I'm going to give them a really good deal on that, to only $97 a month. But they've got it free for 3 months, and they can definitely load properties to the back of our website and market it. Yeah, because Leasing to Buy is really transformed into just a huge marketing platform.
Right. Okay. Let me see here. So let me see here. Do you only do lease option on pretty houses? Can you do with houses that need repairs?
You can. I don't, but you can. And the reason I say this, that's a personal thing for me, Tim. Just a personal preference, because I used to do houses that need some repairs and not so pretty houses, and I just enjoyed the nicer houses, nicer areas better. They brought better people, but you can certainly I could do a lot more houses if I expand into older areas again. But you certainly can. The only challenge on houses if they need repair, like a handyman special, the only challenge there is sometimes people may not have the money to put down, and if the house needs 5,000 repairs, they may not have the money to put down and the money for the repairs. But we've certainly done it before, so you certainly can.
Right. Okay. Here's another great question. Do I need a real estate license to do this? And if is that required?
No. Matter of fact, I prefer you not have one, because of just the type of marketing we do. And again, it's just like wholesaling, Tim. Your company is signing a contract with an owner, and then you're just assigning that contract over. So you are a principal in the agreement, so you don't need to have a license, because you're not representing the buyer or the seller. It's just your company signing a contract with the seller.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Let me see here. I heard a Texas attorney give a talk last night telling us not to try to do lease option in Texas, and he talked about the fee simple title. And I know, John, you mentioned about that earlier, but I guess can you just brief that real quick again?
Yeah, and that may have been. I actually talked to an attorney when was that? After may have been after our last webinar, real nice gentleman out of Austin, and we were discussing that. And with fee simple title, again, fee simple title is just how you hold title. Fee simple doesn't mean that it doesn't mean fee simple that you don't have a mortgage. It's just how you hold title. Now, what happened in Section 5085? It states that I'm sorry, let me back up. It states that the seller you cannot enter into a executory contract with a potential purchaser if the seller does not own the property in fee simple, free from any liens or other encumbrances. Well, if you stop right there, Tim, you say, okay, well, that's it. You can't have a lien on it. But then you keep reading, and it says, except, I'm not going to read the whole subsection, but it says, this section does not, this subsection does not apply to a lien or encumbrance placed on the property that is placed on the, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling down here, Tim, I lost my spot, that is placed on the property by the seller prior to the execution of the contract in exchange for a loan used only to purchase the property. And so that loan, there's certain things such as the you have to disclose, like I said, the mortgage information, and the lien is attached only to the property sold. So what you couldn't do is, if you had, as an example, Tim, if you stuck to the law, if you had a line of credit that you bought, say, 10 houses on with that line of credit, well, that loan is attached to all 10 properties. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so you couldn't do a lease option on a house that was bundled
I see.
with a large say the line of credit with other properties. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Also, if a property had which you don't see many of these, but if a property had, say, a HELOC, home equity line of credit, well, that's an encumbrance that wasn't used to buy the property. So technically, you couldn't do a lease option on a house with a HELOC. So, but yeah, so fee simple is separate than the mortgage, and the law states that if you have a mortgage, that you've got to disclose certain information.
Right. All right, awesome. Yeah, we still have a lot of questions, but we're running out of time. So here's the last question. How much money do I need to get this business started?
You know what? The biggest expense is going to be if you do marketing with direct mail. That'll be your biggest expense. The next one would be signs, which signs are, you can just use Coroplast signs. They're $2 a piece if you wanted to. I've got nice aluminum signs, but outside of that, my biggest expense is really if I do a direct mail campaign. You can figure about, and you don't have to do direct mail. That's just what I do because I've kind of got it down to a science. But if you do direct mail, figure the mail, which, by the way, everybody that comes here, goes to the class, gets copies of all the marketing pieces I use. They're all included in there. But when you do a mailing, you figure, was it like 27 cents? I do bulk mail, so it's 27 cents a piece, and then it's how much does it cost? It's really inexpensive on the postcards and stuff. But I did I did kind of a small mailing in July, which I normally don't do, and it was all said and done. It may have cost me $400, Tim. It may have cost me $400. But think about it.
And out at $400, how many deals do you have?
You know what? And that's the thing. I always teach. It's so funny. I always teach not to do a mailing in July because it's one of the worst times to do direct mail for this business. I always say wait till September, into September, get past school. Well, I had this mail out kind of ready to go, so I went ahead and sent it, and knowing it's the worst time to do it. Out of that mailing, I had, I think it was either 4 or 5 calls. I don't remember, Tim. Either 4 or 5 calls. So very, very. It wasn't that many pieces. It was I don't know. It was maybe 1,000 or just over, maybe not even 1,000. I don't know. But I got one house locked up, and I'm working on another one right now. And that house that I got locked up is the one that's not even ready yet, and we already got the application for it. So, and that was going to be what, 50? I think that was 5,800 or 5,500. I don't remember. So, so obviously, you do one mailing, and
So it pays, yeah, it pays for your marketing, like
Yeah, and that was the worst time of the year to do it. I always teach them not to do a mail in July, but oh well.
That's awesome. All right, so cool. So yeah, so to take advantage of this is an awesome, awesome opportunity. It's a ground floor opportunity. You want to be one of the. I mean, look, hardly anybody's doing lease option here in Texas, and so you be one of the very few that are doing this. You have zero competition. And we can even work together. Like if you have a house that that you're selling, and we might have a buyer, we can do joint venture with each other, and vice versa. So I am looking for more people to do lease options here in Houston. And so yeah, to take advantage of this, go to www.dodeals.com/John, dodeals.com/John, and sign up for it. The phone number, if you want to call into my assistant Yuvia to ask any questions, call 832-422-7643. Yeah, I'm super excited about this, and both John and I are really excited and ready to help you succeed like big time here with lease options.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too, Tim. And again, thanks for putting this webinar together. Hopefully we were able to answer some questions and go through some things in a little more detail. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on September 14th.
Yep, September 14th and 15th. All right, y'all. All right. See you at the seminar. Thanks, John.
Right,
thanks everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye.